really looking at the SparkSafe initiative, going to look at how that can remove the typical deadly blind spot that exists regarding electrical competency. I've had a few interesting conversations already, so hopefully by the end of the session you can see the benefits in terms of how it can be used as a best practice tool in repairs and maintenance. So that's kind of the plan. Before we get started, just a wee bit of an overview of who we are and what we do. So my name is Charlotte Bamber, and I'm the Chief Executive of an organisation called the Electrical Training Trust. I'm here today representing SparkSafe, which is a part of ETT. We are a charity based in Northern Ireland, the accent probably gives that away, that aims to improve productivity, safety and standards of the electrical contracting industry. That's what we really set out to do. We do this by providing advice, guidance, training and assessment services, as well as management of the SparkSafe Licensed to Practice initiative, really looking at trying to improve skills and competency across the industry. A few of the support services that we provide, and again, just to give you a bit of context in terms of what we do, because we're a charity, we really are trying to enhance safety, and that's where SparkSafe comes in. But some of the campaigns we've been involved in, first one is the Save Our SparkSafe Isolation campaign. Some of you may know about the campaign led by Louise Adamson, who tragically lost her brother Michael back in 2005 to do with a workplace accident that could have been and should have been prevented. It was around safe isolation. So we've been trying to raise awareness of that within the Northern Ireland industry. Following on from that, we then last year launched the Ending Shock Silence campaign, and that really was on the back of feedback from apprentices, electricians within the sector, almost feeding back to us that an electric shock is almost a rite of passage and it's something that every electrician gets. It's not that important and it doesn't have to be reported. So we've done research and we've launched the report, which I think has been shared on LinkedIn through DirectWorks, but we can share that with you. So really what we're trying to do is get the sector and the industry thinking about safety. We need to make sure that as an industry, when someone goes out to work, that they come home safe at the end of each and every day, and that's kind of part of what we're trying to do. On the back of that, we were able to, as a charity again, work with Electrical Safety First to provide fully funded safe isolation kits for all first-year apprentices in Northern Ireland. Again, what we're trying to do is embed the idea of safety at the very start of an apprenticeship to make sure that that follows through, and that we really are raising awareness around the dangers that exist around working with electricity and whenever you're doing electrical installation work. And then we look at really upskilling programs for those who are unqualified in our industry, of which there are many. Northern Ireland obviously is a smaller space than England, but we have over 1,000 electricians who don't meet the level 3 standard, but they're operating as electricians, and we are trying to encourage those people to upskill to the level 3 requirement. That ties in then to renewables, which again is obviously everyone is fixed on the net zero targets. But again, within our sector, you have to be qualified before you really should be doing any of that work. So that's kind of where we're coming from. I'm going to move on to now is how SparkSafe fits into that. So 3 key questions I'm going to ask everyone today. I normally do this at the end of the session, but I'm going to ask it at the start. And I'm not going to get anyone to answer, but I just want you to consider the answer to the question as we go through them. So the first question, do you know who is carrying out electrical work in your sites and if they're qualified to undertake the electrical tasks required? Do you know that? Have you taken sufficient steps to defend your organisation or personal reputation in court for using unqualified electrical workers? And then finally, is the safety of your staff, customers or assets potentially at risk of shock, fire or electrocution because of a lack of rigour or scrutiny into the competency of those who carry out work on your behalf? There's 3 tough questions there. You may be answering yes to those, some of you may be I'm not sure, or it could be no. And what I hope to do over the next few slides is really show how the SparkSafe system can perhaps remove the risk, or reduce the risk at least, of the kind of dangers that really are in the back of having unqualified workers on your site. So what is SparkSafe? And again, I've had conversations this morning. I'm going to explain what it is and what it isn't, and the difference. So SparkSafe is an online electrical licence to practice system that provides visibility of all workers engaged in the installation of electrical services by licence type. So we look at all of the workers involved in the electrical installation side of a project or a site. SparkSafe is not a competent person scheme. We are not a third-party accreditation organisation like NIC, EIC or NAFIT, so we're completely different. What I've done here today is really set out the difference. And again, I think it's important to do that because there are some misconceptions around what the third-party accreditation organisations actually do. So I'm going to focus on what they do and then what we do, and hopefully you can see the difference and where the gap arises and where that blind spot really exists. So if we look at the third-party accreditation organisation, it provides assurance on the enterprise. The enterprise is the business, it's not the workers, okay? So it looks at the enterprise. It's systems focused. So I just realised some of this hasn't shown on the screen for some reason, so it's cutting off, so I'll try and cover as best I can. It's systems focused, so if you're registered with one of the two providers, and it will look at your business processes, it will look at insurance, calibration, it will look at safe isolation, and it typically looks at the qualifying supervisor, which there normally is one or two within an organisation. So the qualifying supervisor doesn't do all of the electrical installation work, really important role within the organisation, but there's no assurance of all of the workers involved in the installation services, so that's where we come into play. So if you look at SparkSafe, we look at all of the workers and we independently assess and validate the identity and electrical qualifications of everyone that's doing electrical installation work. We categorise all workers by licence type, so we look at the qualifications. We have 4 licence types, and what we then have in the back of that, which isn't on the screen here, we have a unique workforce composition report. So if you make use of SparkSafe, you will have visibility of all of the workers and a breakdown of the workers by licence type, which is completely unique. So you will have visibility of who is actually carrying out work on your site or on your project. So I think it's very important just to explain the difference between the two systems. The system and the offer by NIC and NAVA is highly valued and is much needed, but you could see that there is a gap there, and that's where SparkSafe fits in. Who we work with, again, just to give a bit of context, the system has been operational for over 10 years now. We work with most of the public sector organisations in Northern Ireland. We also work with most of the housing associations. We are seeing an increase in number of private sector clients in Northern Ireland and in England use SparkSafe as part of a competency framework. So we work with the Science and Technologies Facilities Council, C2C, MACE, Dart and Taylors. There's a few different contractors there. So again, it's just to let you see that although it's maybe new to some of you in the room, we have been up and running now for a good number of years, and the system is well embedded into organisations across Northern Ireland and in England. Types of projects, again, what we've tried to do here, I know today's session is really looking at repairs and maintenance, so our system is used and has been adopted on capital build projects, so new schools, new hospitals, it's been specified on those types of projects, but it equally is suited to planned maintenance response contracts. We have it used on bathroom and kitchen refurbishments. So there's a range of projects and sites and variations of how it can be used. So again, it's just to let you see that if you're thinking, well, could that work for us? There's a range of different contracts and sites that it can be used on. Electrical competency and managing risk. I don't think anybody would disagree with the statement here that the safety of property, buildings and people should always be a top priority for clients and contractors. I think everyone in the room here would agree with that. A properly and well-maintained installation can reduce the possibility of accident and injury, but it's important that you know that the work is still carried out of people who have the appropriate skills, knowledge and experience. However, for you and whatever your role is, that can be challenging. I had a conversation just with a gentleman there. The qualifications that exist out there regarding electrical installation are varied. There's so many different versions and so many different levels. So for a client, it's been difficult for you to actually understand what the qualifications are that you're presented with. And failure to ensure that the individuals undertaking the work are qualified and competent can pose very dangerous risk. So addressing the problem, how can SparkSafe help? Clients and contractors put a lot of time pre-qualifying contractors at a company level, but it's not the company that does the work, it's the electrical workers. We often find that contractors enter into, and this could be whether it's your primary one contractor, or it could be your subcontractors, you enter into a trust-based arrangement. We've heard here today that there isn't the in-house capability to fulfil contract requirements, so you have to look outside of the organisation. So you could be subbing that out, and it could be subbed out not only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And when you get to that 5th level of subcontracting, that's where the issues often arise, because you don't know who is actually doing the work. That means that the wiring, connecting and fit out of systems is increasingly carried out by unqualified or self-designated electrical workers. It's estimated that over 200,000 UK workers operate outside of any common regulated system. There's no legal requirement for an electrician to be qualified, which in itself poses serious risk. So if you look really at the risks here, kind of working from bottom up, accidents, injuries and delays, I'm sure you all are aware of those. Insurance claims, damage to your business reputation, your personal reputation, interruption to business, but ultimately could lead to a loss of life. So we often ask this question whenever we deliver our session to kind of attendees. So how would you defend yourself in court if you ended up in court for using unqualified workers on your site? How would such a discovery affect the standing of your business, your reputation if there was a loss of life? We've heard today the impact of Grenfell, the Building Safety Act, and obviously managing competency isn't new. It features under the CDM regulations, electricity at work regulations, but there's more emphasis on it now. And what we're trying to do today is really highlight that there's a system here that you can use to try and reduce that risk and protect yourselves if something were to go wrong. So ignorance is not bliss. Here's some of the things that we hear, and I know this morning's session there was a few kind of quotes, if you like, from people. If you were to end up in court, and you may put the onus on your supply chief that they have selected and appointed qualified workers, but that won't necessarily stand up in a court of law. They will look to you to make sure you have taken the appropriate steps. And what we often hear from clients, we rely on the builder to sort that. Someone checks a casted card. One that we hear a lot is we have faith in our contractor. We've worked with them for years. We know that they only use qualified electricians. We keep our own records. And what we often hear as well, and I'm sure again this is something you'd hear, it doesn't matter. The lights go on, project's completed, and it's handed over, job's done. So we hear those things. But as I say, if you end up in court, you need to show you've taken steps to try and reduce that risk and ensure the COD of your building and your properties. So, put it kind of simply, our solution removes the blind spot, and it could be a potential deadly blind spot. Just to summarise, the system provides users with an online report that shows the electrical contractor's workers by name and licence type for each site. And we make it easy for users to see who's working on a site by establishing an online connection between the worker, the contractor and the client. And I'm going to touch on that a wee bit just so you can see how that actually works. So it's a bit like LinkedIn connections, but when I get to the slides, we'll discuss it in more detail. So once the connections are in place, you have access to what's called a workforce composition report. This provides visibility, transparency and individual assessment of all of those who are carrying out electrical work on clients' projects. It can be accessed on an iPad, phone and laptop. I know you can't see the detail of it here very clearly, so the next slide really provides a kind of a clearer image of some of the data. So this is a site, obviously dummy data that we've used here. We can see the name of the electrical contractor, Bright Choice. We can see that on this project there's 7 workers. Of the 7 workers, you can see the breakdown of licence types. So we have 3 qualified electricians, we have 2 who are restricted electrical workers, and we have 2 apprentice electricians. And the system then allows you to drill down further where you can see the person's name, their licence type, their membership number, their expiry date. And if you click on the radio button on the online system, you can see the person's, obviously who they are and is their online licence. What we've also done, and some of you may have seen this data analysis before, we analysed 11 projects really to try and emphasise the worth of the system and the data that it contains. So on screen you can see here we've got 11 projects. Obviously we haven't included any details of projects or contractors. So it's 11 projects that we looked at that were registered with SparkSafe, and they ranged in value from about, I think it's 500,000 up to, I think there's maybe a £60 million project in there. Of those projects, we had 7 that had less than 15% qualified electricians. We had 1 project that relied on almost 50% apprentices. And then on the other side, we had 3 projects that had absolutely no qualified electricians at all. They were all restricted workers. So if you were a client of one of those 11 projects, you would probably be assuming that you're getting qualified electricians, when in fact that is not the case. And there normally are 1 or 2 qualified go-to people, if you like. And what this system does, really, it allows you to see what is the makeup of that workforce. Does the contractor have to make adjustments? And I should say that doesn't only include directly employed, it's also subcontract workers. And really it shows that there is the need to have visibility of those workers, and it does remove the blind spot that exists. So it's just to show you the worth of having the data when you do sign up to SparkSafe. Just quickly, benefits of SparkSafe, and I've touched on some of these. It can be used for quality improvement and risk management. It's free for clients and building contractors. So the system is funded by the electrical contractor and the worker, and I'll touch on that in a minute or two. By adopting the system, SparkSafe will provide enhanced safety, peace of mind. We do the hard work for you. We'll look at all of the qualifications. We will review, validate and verify every electrical certificate that's submitted as part of an application. You will help defend yourself if something happens and you end up in court for using unqualified workers. You will protect the reputational interests for yourself and your organisation, and then tied to that is then insurance requirements and costly claims. So really we're trying to protect clients, consultants and contractors from the safety, quality and value for money risks associated with the use of unqualified workers on the sites. What we can do for you, again, I've touched on this, so I'll not go over it in too much detail. Our team has over 20 years technical knowledge of qualifications, both legacy qualifications and contemporary qualifications. We specialise in reviewing the certificates on your behalf. We have picked up on over the years 5 MVQ level 3 certificates, AM2 certificates, inspection and testing certificates. It's very easy to go onto Google and search the qualification you're looking for. You'll get a copy of the certificate online. You change your name, you submit it. Who knows that it's correct or it's actually valid? So we will go through all of that, and then we help to ensure that those who are actually doing the work are qualified to do so. Existing systems normally will obscure or put the onus on the client to do the hard work, and we're trying to reverse that. So we're trying to make your job easier as a client or a contractor. You're busy enough, you don't need to spend time looking at qualifications, so we can do that for you. And we also offer a compliance auditing service for clients as well. I'll not touch on that too much, but that's something that we do offer as part of the SparkSafe service. How it works, so if you decide that you want to make use of SparkSafe, it places an obligation for the main contractor. We talk about main contractors, that would be the building contractor, to register. They then have to ensure that they employ electrical contractors who only have licensed workers, and the workers have to apply for one of 4 license types. So starting with the bottom up, we have an apprentice electrician. We in Northern Ireland had an issue with people being put on the wrong framework. So they were doing installation work, but they were on engineering framework, so they were on different programs, so they weren't actually going to ever meet the target qualification. So we ensure that they're on the right framework and it is electrical installation work that they're involved in. The next license type is quite a broad license type, so it covers, say you have someone in the industry has 30 years experience and no qualifications, or it could be someone who has completed their MVQ level 3 and maybe hasn't kept themselves up to date with the wiring requirements. So there's a broad range of people in that category. The next license type then is a qualified electrician. The requirement to meet that is that you have to have an MVQ level 3 plus be up to date with the current edition of the wiring requirements, which is the 18th edition to the 3rd Amendment currently. And then the 4th license type is classed as kind of a higher standard license type. So that's for someone who meets the qualified electrician criteria, but they also have been assessed on site by the likes of MIC or NAPIT. So they are a member of the third-party accreditation organisation. So that's the 4th license type. And only licensed workers can actually be added to projects or sites through the system. So there is a check and balance there as well. Our 5-step process, just to try and show you how it works quickly before we finish up. First step is you decide you want to make use of SparkSafe as a best practice tool. You would register, which is free. Step 2, you then register your site or your project through our website, and at that point you then connect with the main contractor, whoever's going to be doing the builder work or kind of overseeing the project. They then log in, so step 3, they log into the system and they add their electrical subcontractor. Step 4, the electrical subcontractor logs in and they add all of their licensed workers to the system. And step 5 then is the workforce composition report. So that's kind of how it works. And as I say, there's notifications come through the system to say that you've been added and you have to log in and add your workers. But the result is the workforce composition report. Just to finish up, a few kind of endorsements from people within the industry. Again, as I say, we have been operating for over 10 years. Mike Andrews, who was up till recently the Managing Director of NAPIT, really in terms of feedback, had commented that SparkSafe and NAPIT shared the same values and beliefs, high standards, individual competency, transparency and integrity. NAPIT is committed to endorsing the SparkSafe model. Increased acceptance of the model will drastically improve the compliance and safety of electrical installations across the UK. And then also from a client's point of view, an asset manager called Minin. Feedback, SparkSave has developed a distinctive online system that effectively connects the competency of workers with construction and building maintenance contracts. The system also provides a unique insight into how well our electrical contractors' workforce is matched to our specific needs. That means peace of mind for busy asset managers. So again, just some feedback from people that actually use the system. Next steps, that's me finishing. So you can register today. As I say, if you're a client or a building contractor, it's free. Request a system demonstration. We can show you how the system works in practice. I know I've kind of covered a lot today. If you're keen to see, well, how does that actually work, or how could it apply to my organisation? We can do an online demo for you, demonstrate the benefits to you, your team, and your customers. Get involved. We would like to have a pilot programme with some direct work members. So if you are wanting to know more or think you could make use of the system, let us know, and we will be in touch and try and maybe see if we can move things forward in terms of getting you registered and the benefits that it can have. And my email address is provided just on screen, charlotte@sparksaveltp.co.uk. So feel free to get in touch.